Daniel Love is from Texas. He graduated from Liberty University in 2004 and currently lives in Lynchburg, Virginia, with his wife and 2 children. He's been a history teacher at Liberty Christian Academy in Lynchburg for the past 15 years. You're listening to Echoes, a podcast that highlights the important moments in people's lives. And I'm your host, Paris Lape. Echoes is sponsored by warm weather, the type of weather that keeps humans motivated and happy. A good time for all of those under the sun, including plants and animals. Daniel served for 6 years in the Army National Guard and was deployed to Iraq in 2010. He has many stories from his time in training and service, but there's one in particular that stuck with him. Here is Daniel's story.
It could always be worse. I think that's a great life saying. There's something realistic about that, but at the same time, it's hopeful. It's far different than like seize the day, which exudes false optimism. The older I get, the more I'm just trying to make it to the next cup of coffee. I think, I had a cup of coffee 30 minutes ago. Is it too soon to have another one? Are 10 cups a day bad for me? And so I was first introduced to It Could Always Be Worse when I joined the Army back in 2009. We shipped off to Fort Benning, Georgia. And the training exercise where this became my life quote was when we were taken to the gas chamber. They put you in a room and release a military-grade tear gas that certainly doesn't kill you, but it does make you want to die. And so when we arrived at the gas chamber, we lined up and we went in. And as we went in, we were placed into 2 groups. The group A, the first group, they were in front of us. They were 1 step in front of us, ringing the room. I was in Group B, the second group, and our backs were against the wall. And so we all had our gas masks on, and there was a drill sergeant next to the table in the middle of the room. Now, just to kind of get your bearings, just picture a fairly large size room, like the size of a classroom, and there's a door that leads into the room, and then there's a door on the other side that serves as the exit. Well, to our left, there's one small window that's letting in a little bit of light. And that light is illuminating the table that's in the middle of the room. And on that table is this tear gas contraption that's going to release this tear gas into the chamber. And so there's the drill sergeant with the gas mask on. He's next to the table. And as the doors shut, we've now been placed in our groups. Again, I'm in Group B. The group in front of us they're going to go first. And so the drill sergeant releases a valve or twists a valve and the tear gas is released and it slowly begins to fill the room. And the room starts to get smoky and cloudy. It's kind of hard to see. It almost felt like we're on another planet. And I remember with my gas mask on, looking to the left and to the right, and I could hear my breathing. And as I looked through the haze, I couldn't help but think that this is pretty cool, right? I don't sense any of the tear gas. Clearly, my gas mask is working, and that's what the drill sergeant said. The goal of this exercise was for us to learn how to use our gas mask and to trust in our equipment. But I kind of sensed that there was an additional motive behind this, because when they talked about the gas chamber, they always had that smile, but it wasn't that comforting, warm, fatherly smile. It was more of that like evil, predatory smile, a lot of like kind of like how, the smile maybe a lion has right before it pounces on that helpless gazelle. And so as the gas fills the chamber, I remember looking around and I began thinking, what is this going to be like when I take this mask off? Because the drill sergeants told us before going in that after the gas fills the room, Group A, the first group, they're going to take their masks off, and me, being in Group B, we're going to watch them, and then it'll be our turn after they're done, that they're going to have to perform 2 exercises. First, they're going to have to take off their gas mask, and then second, they have to take their gas mask and put it into a green pouch that's on their belt. And there was a warning. If we dropped our gas mask or our rifle in this process, we would have to go through the gas chamber again. And so my mind is quickly processing this information. I'm trying to figure out, how can I just do this one time? Well, I have a college education, and so I'm going to outsmart this. I come up with a plan. I am going to hold my breath when I take off my gas mask so I will be able to perform both functions correctly, ensuring that I will not have to go through the gas chamber again. And so I have that smug, confident look that I have outsmarted the system, and that's my plan. Well, meanwhile, I'm back still in the gas chamber, and Group A is going to go first. And so the drill sergeant, through his gas mask, tells Group A, he says, "Take it off." And so they take off their gas mask. Well, their reactions upon taking the gas mask off, the gas hit them so hard that immediately Group A, all 50 of them, they're doubled over in pain, coughing and hacking. I remember thinking that reaction was so extreme, I thought that they were faking it. I thought that they were doing that just to mess with us in Group B. But I would come to find out, no, that's exactly what it's going to feel like. It's a very realistic reaction to this tear gas. And so these 50 soldiers in Group A are doubled over in pain. They're coughing and hacking. And what's really unnerving is we all had sinus infections. I think there was like mold in the barracks. And so as they're all doubled over in pain and coughing and hacking, like everything is draining. Right? This sinus infection, all this clogged up mucus, well, it's now coming out of their nose like it's the flood. And it's bright neon green. And as they're doubled over, the mucus is so thick, it's not just dropping to the floor. It's so thick, it's staying it's like swinging back and forth as they're moving to their heads to the left and right. And so they're coughing, they're hacking. There's one guy over to my left, and he's crying, calling for his mother. Another soldier to my right is shouting, "Why did I join the army?" And this is absolutely horrifying. And me in Group B, we still have our gas masks on, and I remember the guy to the right. I kind of look over, and he makes eye contact with me. His eyes, I can see through the gas mask. His eyes are wide, and his breathing, he's hyperventilating. And so we're panicking, and because we know that this is going to be us in about 60 seconds. Well, after 60 seconds, the drill sergeant turns to Group A, and I could have swore that I heard laughter in that gas mask. That couldn't be the case. Like he's just like celebrating our suffering. That couldn't possibly be true. And so he turns to Group A and he says, "Get out." And so the exit door opens and they all rush out. They have to place their hand upon the shoulder of the soldier in front of them. They can't really see. This tear gas attacks everything, including your eyes. And so they have a hand on the shoulder of the guy in front of them, and they all rush out. And for a brief moment, there's sunlight pouring into the room from the exit door, and then the door shuts. And the drill sergeant turns to us, and again, what sounds like laughing, he turns to us and says, "Your turn." And so we obediently take off our gas mask. But remember, I have my plan. And so I'm going to hold my breath. And so immediately after I take my gas mask off, I'm holding my breath. And I remember the gas mask attacking my eyes. It's like someone is taking hot sauce and they're pouring the hot sauce into your eyes, followed by a jackhammer, right? And so the tear gas is also attacking exposed skin, but I can still function. I'm not doubled over in pain like these other yahoos that weren't smart enough to hold their breath, and they're doubled over in pain. They're struggling to get their gas mask into their pouch. And so I take my gas mask, I put it into my green pouch, seal the pouch, and I didn't drop my gas mask or my rifle. I've completed the objective, and now I just got to suffer for another 60 seconds or so, and then I'm out of here. But because I'm holding my breath, it's going to minimize the amount of suffering that I have to experience. This is brilliant. I'm so smart and happy with myself. Well, I realize later on, just in a few seconds, that this strategy of holding my breath was the worst possible strategy I could have picked. I'm an idiot. Because after about 60 seconds of holding my breath, I now need to breathe. And so after 60 seconds, all the oxygen has left my lungs, and I exhale. And after I exhale, I now take a deep breath in. And that oxygen is filled with that tear gas that goes into the deepest recesses of my lungs. And as that tear gas goes into my lungs, I begin to choke and cough, and it's like have you ever been hit in your stomach and you can't catch your breath? Right? That's what it felt like at that moment. It felt like a 10-ton truck had been lifted up and just placed on my chest. I could not catch my breath. And so there I am, doubled over in pain. I'm gasping. I'm trying to get oxygen into my lungs. I thought I was dying. And as I turn to the left and to the right, I'm trying to find where the door is. I can barely see. There's tears in my eyes. The tear gas is attacking my eyes. I'm waiting for that door to open, but I've completely run out of oxygen. I've held my breath for too long, and now the oxygen that I did breathe in is filled with tear gas, and I'm beginning to panic. I feel like I'm dying. So I rush up to the drill sergeant. I grab his arm, and I'm like, I'm dying. I need to get out. And he shoves me away and says, get off me, freak. And so I thought that this was the end of it. I thought this is where it was all going to end for me. Well, a few moments later, the exit door opens, and it was, I think this is what going into heaven is going to feel like. There's that burst of light. There's that hope and salvation. And as we rush for that door, I remember with my hand on the shoulder of the soldier in front of me as we burst outside and breathing in that fresh, clean oxygen, that fresh, clean air. I remember looking to my left, and there's all the other drill sergeants with their phones out recording us as we come out. Yes, with our snot swaying in the breeze, bright neon green, vomiting and coughing and crying. And there's the drill sergeants all laughing, recording us as we're coming out. And that's where that life motto, it could always be worse. That's where it came from. From that moment forward, everything came into perspective. From that moment to now, anytime something bad is happening, that motto just comes into my mind. It could always be worse. And so if I'm standing in line at Starbucks, waiting for my turn to get my cup of coffee, and the guy in front of me is growing impatient because he's living his life with seize the day. And so if you live your life by seize the day, you don't have time to be slowed down by waiting too long for a cup of coffee, right? And so when Starbucks is busy and there's a long line and this dude in front of me is clearly impatient and he's starting to get kind of upset and he's saying some unkind comments to the barista there, I just want to tap him on the shoulder and tell him, buddy, it could always be worse. You could be sprayed with military-grade tear gas, and you could be bent over in pain, snot coming out of your nose, questioning everything about your existence. So why don't you just show some grace, patience, and mercy, right? Let's put things in perspective. And so from that day in the gas chamber to today, I've lived my life with that quote, it could always be worse. It's a realistic motto, but at the same time, it's hopeful and it puts things in perspective.
Thank you for listening to Echoes, a podcast created and edited by me, Paris Lape. Music found on purpleplanet.com. If you have a story you'd like to share, contact me